This is like the age-old question. I think the neutral versus advantage discussion is always like very opinionated. I don't a correct answer, you know? Like I don't think there's a right or wrong. So here's the thing. All right, so here's the thing. This has always been something that like people talk about all the time. Like, what should I focus on more? Like my neutral or advantage, or like what's more important? My neutral state or like my advantage state? And for me, I think when I think about it, I don't include true combos as advantage state. That's part of like your punish, right? That's your punish game. It's like if this were any other fighting game, if like they made a mistake in neutral, they would get punished by this, right? Like your B&Bs and stuff like that. I don't necessarily count that as like part of your advantage state. Well, Smash is a little different because there's like DI and stuff, right? But like the rest of it's still pretty much guaranteed. Actually, we'll talk about that, like perfect neutral versus perfect advantage. I'll bring that up in a little bit. But so let's say you are playing against like Kazuya or like Luigi, right? And you're like, okay, in that case, their advantage state is crazy. I would argue, and this is just the way I see it, that their advantage state isn't that strong, but their punish game is ridiculous. Like ridiculous. Like they kill you if you make a mistake, right? So when I'm talking advantage state, I'm mostly talking about like when you get a hit, how do you follow up the hit without a guaranteed combo? Like your positioning after the hit, the route that you take, like what move you decide to do to send them at certain angles, ledge trapping, edge guarding, like the whole nine. And obviously some characters are better, like that's just how it works. Every character in the game is different, right? But I can see different people go about their advantage states differently. Obviously, Spargo has the best advantage state. It's Cloud. Like it's not close. Sometimes you'll watch Spargo hit someone one time with like up tilt at 0, and bro juggles them to 70, lands like a back air or like a dash attack or something, hits them off stage. They can't make it back. Somehow, bro just cooked them. Like it just happens really, really fast, and you're like, like it even happens in this set of Leo Spargo, where like Leo's up like a bunch of percent, and Spargo hits him literally one time, like one time, and he just dies, right? Yeah. Anyway, so there are times where like you can see literally Spargo like he's playing the set, he's getting cooked the entire set. Aegis has better neutral than Cloud, and then he just hits him one time, and it bro's advantage state. The like way he decides to play out advantage is very strong. Like landing traps, like the way he juggles, the way he hits people, the way he ledge traps. It's just it's insane, right? And we were losing the whole time, and I think your advantage state can make up for your lack of neutral in a lot of ways. Now, that sounds really crazy, um, but feel me on this, right? Have you ever been playing someone and not Kazuya, not Luigi, right? But even then, I'll kind of like lump this in because it kind of it kind of relates. Have you ever been playing someone and you're like cooking them the whole game, right? Like you're obliterating them. They are struggling, and then they hit you one time, and suddenly you're losing. And it's like, dude, I was like destroying your neutral for a minute straight, and then out of nowhere, I'm losing. Like you hit me for 70 off of like some random move. It's like your fear of getting hit has suddenly activated, because when you play against people that hit you for like 20 at a time, or they're like poking you and they hit you for like 15, you know, you're not worried about that, right? You're not. You're like, all right, I mean, I get so many chances, and I know that my advantage state is so strong that if they give me enough chances, my neutral might not be the best, but if I hit them like 2 or 3 times, it's lit. It's my win, right? And a lot of times, we like recently talked about winning, right? Mutace made the video. I made a video recently about like taking stocks, right? A lot of times it's so much harder to take a stock in neutral than it is to take a stock in advantage state, which is why most people with better advantage states just win, right? Um, so I could see like a very, very strong argument for people thinking like, yeah, if I work on my advantage state, it's lit. I win. I'm more likely to win more. And I see it happen very, very often. Like if you use a character like Samus, for example, right? You're gonna focus on that ledge trapping. Your neutral might be okay, right? But the first thing you're gonna learn in order to win, you're gonna be like, hey, what's the bomb timing? If you play like Belmont, right? How do I do the holy water stuff? Hey, it's all good, right? That's what you're gonna focus on. Your neutral's gonna be like decent, because it doesn't matter how good your neutral is if you can just literally advantage state, like punish bot someone to death. You just, because we're humans playing this game, right? Like if this were like a game, like not the game of Super Smash Brothers, but if this were like an RPG game that like you could load into and like put like your points into, right? And you put like all your points into advantage state and like 0 into neutral, and they put all their points into neutral and you put 0 into your advantage, okay, sure, right? Like the person with like all their points in advantage will probably never hit the person in neutral. But unfortunately, this is real life and we are humans, and it doesn't matter like how perfect you feel like your neutral is. All it takes is like one good read, right? Like your opponent to get one good read, get that advantage state off, and potentially catch up. Now, what's interesting is neutral doesn't have another component to it, right? Like if you're playing a game and you're just in neutral, like you're chilling. It's just neutral. There's nothing else. When you're in advantage, right? They're in disadvantage, and that's a skill in itself. So when you're neutral, it's neutral versus neutral. But when you're in advantage, it's advantage versus disadvantage. And some people are very, very good at having like an amazing disadvantage state. Think the Buzz, right? It's playing like these really floaty characters, should be getting juggled forever, somehow finds a way down, finds a way out the corner over and over again. Like very, very talented disadvantage like play. Insane. So a lot of times when the Buzz is playing players that put all their points into advantage state, they struggle because they just can't do the things that they normally do, which is something that's like super, super interesting when you think about it, right? So now it becomes, wait a second, like you could put all your points into advantage, but suddenly you're playing someone whose disadvantage is very, very good, and it's just not working. So then it's like, okay, well, my neutral has to get better. So suddenly it feels like your neutral is more important because someone's disadvantage is that good. And that's something that doesn't really happen in neutral. Like if you're playing someone who put no points into neutral, you're just going to keep winning neutral. If you're playing someone in, and that's why what's interesting about the discussions, I feel like people always say, is neutral or advantage like more important? And I just sit there and I think to myself like, okay, the question is not is neutral or advantage more important? It's like, is good neutral plus good disadvantage better than good advantage plus good disadvantage? Because you have to factor in your disadvantage both times. Because if you're playing against someone and your neutral is like, let's say your neutral is like a 9 out of 10, but your advantage is like a 5 out of 10, right? But you're playing against someone whose disadvantage is a 2 out of 10, your advantage state suddenly look like a 9 out of 10. You're like, oh, my advantage state is clean. Oh my, you're like hitting them for 8 million. and it's like they're not even hitting you. So now, like, they're not hitting you and you're hitting them for infinite, not because your neutral's oh so good, it's because their disadvantage is oh so bad. So it's like, wait a second, how important is the advantage state, you know? Standard fighting games doesn't have a disadvantage except Oki, but I kind of brought it up because the corner is their disadvantage and bad. It feels equivalent to Cloud set play. Yeah, yeah. Like the main thing I can see is like on Oki, you have only but so many options, right? Like you're like if you think about like ledge trapping, right? And even then it's not 1-to-1, but it's pretty close. Some games you have like rolls and then you have like get up and then you have delayed get up, right? And like that's kind of similar to ledge trapping where you have like get up attack, neutral get up, jump, and roll. Not including like all the other special stuff that most characters can do. So like your options are very, very limited, and like that's what disadvantage is. Like the opponent just has like an advantage in the amount of options that they can do compared to the amount of options that you can do. Players and characters are better at certain things. So let's think about Joker, right? If Joker has you in the corner, it's like, bro, this back air is ridiculous. Like, I don't want to get grabbed. Like, I can't really get past him because he's very mobile and his moves have no lag. So even if like I whiff, like, or if Joker whiffs and I roll in or something, like he'll still grab me and like throw me back or whatever, right? And then it's like the amount of danger you're in also lends to that, right? So it's like, oh man, Joker has me in the corner. So, like, let's say we have Arsene, right? Joker has me in the corner. I do not want to get hit by Arsene back air. So now I'm scared, right? I'm scared of this option. And it's like, like, and it affects the way you think because you have something you're already watching out for. It just might kill me. So I don't want to get hit by that. So let's avoid that. And the opponent is able to play around that. Now let's say you're fighting Arsene Joker and you're on the ledge. You can't back air you. You can't hit you. The only way he can hit you is if he like does like down tilt for some ledge hangs. At least I don't think it hits every ledge hang in the game. So I can do down tilt or down smash for some ledge hangs. Both of those are like commitments. So it's like, am I scared of down tilt that a one hit me upward and if I have my double jump, I'm able to land afterward? Like I get to play the game again? Or am I more scared when I'm in the corner? Oh no, they might down smash me. It's like Fox, right? Like you're not scared of like Fox down smashing the ledge. You're worried about Fox back airing you in the corner. So sometimes it's better to take the ledge trap than to take corner pressure. So that's why sometimes you'll see people they're like in the corner and they're like jump to the ledge. Especially during invincibility. You're just like, bro, I'm going ledge. I'm good. And then some players are just naturally better at corner pressure than they are at ledge trapping. I didn't watch this set. I was asleep. I woke up and saw that it's Void 1. I was like, oh, sick. Which is really funny because we were rooming together. All right, back to neutral and advantage. You'll see like the pros and cons of like having a better neutral or having a better advantage. But it's interesting because sometimes they affect each other. And I mentioned it earlier with like some people's advantage state, like activating the fear, it affects the way you play neutral. So if you're fighting someone with like a really good advantage state, there will be a little bit more hesitation on your end because you're like, I could go for this, but I know that the only way that they're really going to keep up with me is if I like make a mistake and they capitalize on it, right? Or like I take a risk that's a little too large and it doesn't go in my favor and they capitalize on it. But it's also vice versa, right? Let's say you're playing someone, your advantage state is crazy. I'm talking like, bro, every time you touch them, they're gone. But you can't touch them. You're just getting mad, right? That's what happens. Like you start getting frustrated. Like think about any time you ever fight like a zoner. Like you're fighting like a Young Link, or you're fighting Min Min, or you're fighting like Samus or like Mega Man or Duck Hunt or something like that, right? And you're just like, dude, this is so annoying. Like I just want to hit him. Like can I please just hit them one time? Like if I could just hit him one time, it's over. Like I'm in there and I'm sticking to him. Well, you start getting a little frustrated. Your decisions might get a little muddied. You're like sitting there, I'm just rushing in. I'm over it. I'm going to get the hit eventually. And then you go the entire stock and you don't get a hit and you're like, ain't no way I just didn't hit them. Like, and if you do get a hit, it's not even one of those hits that are like super meaningful, right? Like you traded or something. You're like, dude, like at least if I didn't trade, I could have started up my advantage state, but we traded, so it went back to neutral, right? Like sometimes when you're playing someone whose neutral is like absolutely insane, you get super frustrated, and that's just part of the game. And I just find it really interesting that sometimes people don't notice that. I notice it because I play Min Min, right? Min Min as a character has an awful disadvantage state, right? Low key, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But Min Min has an awful disadvantage state, right? And okay, it's pretty bad. It's just not good, right? Awful Kappa. Yeah, her disadvantage is not that good, right? Her advantage state is insane. Her neutral is insane. So it is really frustrating a lot of times when, for opponents, when I'm hitting them from across the stage, they're taking infinite damage and they can't hit me. Like they're just trying to get to me and they can't. Their decisions just get so muddied. Like they're just like, I'm just jumping in. I'm just doing it. It's time for me to jump in and it's over. Like I'm either gonna land this hit or I'm not. Like I was playing someone one time and I legitimately asked them, I said, dude, why do you just keep jumping? You know what their response was? What else am I supposed to do? That's just what they said. They said, what else am I supposed to do? And I was like, dang, that's crazy. Like we've gotten to the point where we don't even care about like figuring things out. It's just, I'm just gonna do this and hope I get a hit. That's crazy, right? So stuff like that happens. You're playing neutral. Like if you ever like watch Tweak play or watch Sonic's play, their neutral is very strong. Now granted, their advantage state is also very strong, because I believe at the top level you have to have all three. You have to have like an insane disadvantage, your advantage state needs to be really good, and your neutral needs to be very solid. Like you have to have all three. But if we're talking about like lower levels, which one do I personally think is more important? High key, I would say your advantage, because you're just able to win more. Now if you're talking about which one makes it easier for you to improve, I think having a stronger neutral will make it easier for you to improve, because you'll get more opportunities to learn how to do advantage. But it's a lot harder the other way around, right? If you have a strong advantage state but your neutral sucks, you're not going to get to like work on your you're not going to get to like get your advantage as much as possible. So you're going to be sitting there, you're going to want to do certain things in neutral, and the advantage state that you learned before is going to be completely different than the advantage state you have to learn from when you get like not normal combo starter hits, right? Like if you are playing Wolf, for example, if you're playing Wolf and you're so used to just landing forward air, landing there, and suddenly you fight someone and they don't give it to you, your advantage state is dead. The angles that you're used to hitting them to, the finishers for your like combos or whatever, like where it puts them, the positioning afterward, you don't know how to do it if you just land an up tilt, because the frame advantage is different, because the position's different. If you land a forward tilt, it's not the same, right? None of that stuff's the same, and you're gonna have to learn how to use those moves. It's gonna take way longer than like if you're playing neutral. Your neutral's fantastic, and like you can get 1 or 2 hits. Like let's say you're playing Wolf and you're landing a lot of forward tilt. You land a lot of forward tilt, eventually you're gonna learn what to do after forward tilt, because you're just gonna think like, oh, okay, like when I do forward tilt, the best way I've positioned seems to be this. This seems to be like the most common outcome of this scenario, and then like I'll go from there, right? And again, that's usually something that I like to tell people. A lot of times when you're learning, it's usually like you learn one thing and then you go from there. Like you build from that. It's like your foundation, right? Like a building block or whatever. So I think for if you want to improve as a player, the thing I would recommend like starting with learning is how to like play neutral, right? But if you just want to win from the start, hey, learn your advantage state. You'll be able to outpace the people that are around your skill level just simply because you do more damage whenever you hit them, and there's just gonna be way more mistakes at the lower level. But if we're talking top level, which one's more important? They're all one and the same.